So they throw me out some extra gear and a survival pack.
All right, so once again, Heroes Next Door. We're talking to Ron Lockwood. He's a flight paramedic out in South Dakota, and he's giving us some good stories. I want to ask you, now that you're in South Dakota, give me one of the top funniest calls that you've been on. Something that kind of, you chuckle about when you think about it.
Probably the funniest one. I was actually on a ground ambulance working part-time, and we got a call for an assault victim. When we got there was a woman, probably close to 400 pounds or better. Her husband was about 150. I'm not sure what he did, but he obviously made her very angry. Not only did she beat him up and hurt him pretty bad, then she tied him up. And again, it's an assault, but the police had, then she called the cops on him, and so the cops had called for us because the guy's head was bleeding and he was beat up pretty good.
So she did the beating up, but then she also called the cops on him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, we get there, we tended to him, but he actually refused transport. So when we got back in the truck, I just couldn't help it. But I was like, I've never seen this before, where a wife beats up a husband and that bad, then ties him up.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique people out there, and, we see, the good, the bad, the ugly, and those are definitely going to stick out in our careers. All right, so you've been out there about 5 years, you said. Tell me one of the toughest calls you've been on.
The toughest one, actually, Mike, was actually in Nevada. Really, really interesting and challenging calls. The Ruby Mountains are on the eastern side of Nevada. They have altitudes up to between 11 and 12,000 feet. 3 women decided to get into a side-by-side ATV, and they went for a ride up on the mountain. They rolled it. 2 were ejected. One was, injuries were kind of minor, but the first one, the driver, was pretty bad, real severe head injury. The ground EMS, even though they were very familiar and local to that area, they had no clue how to get up there. And I want to say it was about 11,500. So they called for us. Now, where we were located, we were 20 minutes away. The next air service was about 2 to 2.5 hours away. So we were it. We get up there. We had to hike probably about 200 yards down through some snow with a stretcher, with backpacks of equipment, go down to the first woman, and we obviously did a quick triage and realized that, she needs to go first. And we realized also that nobody else is coming. We're it. We package this woman, we take care of her, we intubate her, we carry her up to the aircraft, and my partner and I looked at each other, and right away we both knew she's going to the hospital by herself. I'm staying here. So they throw me out some extra gear and a survival pack. And the pilot is looking at us and going, "Let's go, guys, hurry up." And then he's pointing out in front of him, "There's a nasty storm coming." And he said, "I may or may not be back." I'm like, oh my gosh. They take off. The plan was to relay these patients down to the local hospital and then dispatch the fixed wings. And where we were located, the fixed wings would transport to either Reno, Nevada or Salt Lake City, Utah. So they took off. The storm did come in, heavy rain, hail. I get into the survival bag, and the only thing I could do was to get out the survival blanket and try and cover us up and shelter us the best that we could. And I didn't know when they were coming. And they knew I was there. They were coming back. The question was when. So it was pretty close to 2 hours that I'm up at altitude. And again, I'm not used to those altitudes either. I had actually just moved to Nevada, coming from California. So I'm used to a 200-foot elevation. Now I'm up at 12,000. So any physical exertion, you get out of breath really quick. So I had that, coming on. I actually had a small case of altitude sickness that came on. Headache, a little bit of blurred vision, shortness of breath, and none of this is good. And I'm up here with 2 injured women, and I'm not sure when my help's coming back. So that was probably the more challenging of the calls that I've had since I've been out west.
Wow. Obviously, you made it through that. You did a good job getting them off the mountain. Everybody made it off okay, and and the end result was, do you know if they survived?
Oh yeah. We one of the things that we did with that particular program, we kept a pretty good close call on all of our patients as far as what happened to them afterwards. And she was the woman that was with the head injury. She actually was discharged within about 2 weeks. A little bit of deficit, but the other two. The third one was, she, if I remember correctly, ankle and wrist or whatever, nothing major. The middle one was she had a broken arm and something else, and but nothing major. But yeah, all three did good. I don't know if they ever got that four-wheeler off the mountain, though. That kid might still be up there.
And you got to know your patients very well for 2.5 hours waiting for that aircraft to come back.
I did, as we all huddled underneath that little space blanket and try to keep the thing that you got to worry about in the storms, and that's one of the things that alerted me. Something I think you don't see back on the East Coast. You get hail, like you don't get hail as we get it out here. I could. I'm talking sometimes this big. It's wow. I've seen it bigger than baseballs here. So, and when that comes down, you got to protect yourself.